How old are you?
We've got a lot of things to talk about.
Let's go! Hey!
This man.
That is brilliant.
Well, welcome everybody to Nerd Mafia. Welcome to the family. I see we got a few people in the chat already, anticipating, honestly, two of my favorite people to watch on YouTube. Getting all fanboy gushing over here. But anyway, we have Star Wars Santa in the box below me, and then Vader's Lair, or Sheev, to the box to the right of me. We decided we're going to get it together tonight, make sure that Santa's definitely not a vampire, get him on nighttime stream. And we're going to talk over some Kenobi, because I know anybody that's watched it today, or hopefully you guys all watch it before you got here, because it's spoiler city pretty soon. But yeah, let's get into it. What do you think, guys?
You want to go first, Santa, or should I?
You go ahead.
Man, I got to say, this show, the finale in particular, just absolute perfection to me. Like, I know not everybody feels the same way, and we all have our opinions, but I don't know how they could have made a much better show. And I've been thinking about it all day, of course, and I think most of us are kind of on a high after last night, if you will. And I'm still definitely on it. Every time I go back and watch that Vader scene already between him and Kenobi with the helmet cut open, it's something that I never thought we would get in live action, and how similar and the way they did it to, Twilight of the Apprentice, the season 2 finale of Rebels. Like, it was such an amazing scene, such an amazing ending to the show that I've been waiting for since 2012 and even earlier.
I thought it was great, and I was going into the series as a whole for Kenobi. We knew that there was it had started its life as a movie. It got shelved after Solo, and that it was kind of redone for a series. And so my hopes were, here we go. We get to find out how they can take just an anthology movie, turn it into a series, and how well they can execute it. Might we get more of those, like Solo 2 and other things that were maybe shelved along the way, if this does really well? And for me, I didn't really come into the series with particular expectations. I know there was the rematch of the century, but for me, that just meant that there was a fight of the century. This is the rematch. And would the rematch stand up to the same level as the original? My expectation was not so much. They're older, right? And Vader's wearing the suit and all of that. So I just wasn't expecting it to be Anakin and Obi-Wan, like Revenge of the Sith level duel, right? But this duel in this finale was amazing. Holy moly. Like, it blew my mind. It was way more than I expected. The show as a whole, right? This episode as a whole. When I got done watching, I just asked, is there anything that this show did not have that I really wanted? And for that episode, I could not think of anything off the top of my head. Like, and after thinking on it all day and watching lots of videos all day.
Being in lots of videos.
Yeah, well, I watch Sheev's, I watch X-Wings, I watch Jason's, I watch Meg's, I watch I've seen a couple of the Den of Nerds ones, and Star Wars Theory. I've watched like all of them, and after all of that, I still think there's nothing in it that I missed. So it's a 10 out of 10 for me, for sure.
Yeah, honestly, like for me, just watching watching Santa through this whole experience has been like a treat, because like how he feels about the prequels. And even though this isn't like prequel, it's teetering that line in between the two. And just watching how giddy he gets every single time a new episode's coming or it's right after, it's like, oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, well, that's a good point, because I noticed in the sort of the front half of the fight with Vader and Kenobi, where they grab that big rock and he's trying to lay it down over top of Vader. It reminded me from Attack of the Clones and Dooku trying to take the thing and lay him down on top of on top of Anakin. He did, right? And on top of Yoda and all of that. So I had prequel flashbacks there, and that's for me. I was like, wow, that looked prequel to me. Plus Anakin's delivery lines, like all of his lines were straight out of like Revenge of the Sith. Like it felt very genuine. Like it was great.
It felt like Anakin and Vader. And to your point, a lot of those lines were either Revenge of the Sith lines or, like I was talking about, Rebels lines from Twilight of the Apprentice when we see him facing Ahsoka. And, something I talked about with Star Wars Meg earlier today when I was talking with her, I just love the fact that if there's any two characters that were able to, get an upper hand on Vader and were able to slice the helmet and see the Anakin underneath, I love the fact that so far in canon, the two that have done it are Obi-Wan and Ahsoka, the two people that spent the most time with Anakin out of anybody during that Clone Wars time period, So I love that fact, and I can't say enough about the fight and just what it means as a prequel fan and a lover of the Rebels series. It couldn't have been better.
Speaking to that too, actually, I saw something on Twitter that was pretty cool here. Just the captions I don't have on it, but it was basically like Ahsoka chops off one side of his mask, Obi-Wan chops off the other, but it took Luke to get the whole thing off, like make him complete. That's again. Cool. Yeah, I thought
that is cool.
Reminded of you. I had that in the bank. You talked about it. Reminded me.
Well done. And as much as the prequels bits were in there, it also had a nice smattering of original trilogy tie-in, direct tie-ins, and and actually kind of girding up A New Hope more than what we had in the original trilogy.
Even Return of the Jedi a little bit too.
Oh yeah, and for me it didn't. Like I know some of the complaints have been about Leia knowing about Obi-Wan and Ben, those names, and she shouldn't know them. And I've said this a couple times today, but I rewatched A New Hope last night, and she sends the message off to Obi-Wan, right, through R2. Obi-Wan Kenobi, you are our only hope, right? Like that line comes out, and then she's on the Death Star. Luke shows up. Aren't you short for a stormtrooper? And they have their little banter, and then he says, "I came with Ben Kenobi." And she says, "Ben,
where?"
And she jumps up and she follows him. Well, wait a second. Like, why to me, after rewatching Obi-Wan in this context, right? And I never really picked up on those two, right? Because it's the worst disguise in history, right? It's just like, so I never picked up that she said Obi-Wan in the recording, and then she says Ben later. Yeah. I never caught that, but watching it with that kind of in mind, I was like, wait a second, why is everybody so upset about this?
Exactly.
She obviously knew Ben and Obi-Wan are the same.
I'm a ducky here. I didn't remember it, so you brought it up earlier.
That's the thing, I think, is a lot of us don't always remember, and it's not like we're out here rewatching all 9 movies before we watch Kenobi. Most of us aren't really doing that. But we sit on these movies for so long because when did The New Hope come out? 77, right? So, it's been that long that people have had their own kind of headcanons on whether Leia knew Obi-Wan at the time or different things. And we all kind of perceive it to be one way or another. And now we're getting answers to all of these questions that we had, or these kind of ideals that we had thought were the case. And it may not be what we perceived to be, but I think they did a fantastic job of telling a story that made it all work. And
I agree.
To me, you talk about how it has so much beauty and like callbacks to the prequels, to the original trilogy. I gotta say, like, I'm not the biggest sequel fan at all, but the amount of sequel
sequel?
kind of nods, the amount of sequel nods, and the amount of like respect that I kind of gained for the sequels from, especially this last episode. Like, I think maybe I'm one of the few that picked up on it, but I respect the Luke's character arc in The Last Jedi probably 7 times more just because of this episode and the fact that Obi-Wan basically goes through the same exact arc in this series as Luke does. Like he's out here sacrificing himself for the cause to kind of continue forward. And while in the Obi-Wan Kenobi show, it's the path, it's the resistance when Rey is doing it. And of course, we get that little scene where Obi-Wan is lifting all the rocks and throwing them at Vader. And, you know, it's kind of a nod to Rey lifting all the rocks as well in The Last Jedi. And while, again, I'm not that big of a sequels fan, like it was cool to see those kind of moments, even in the beginning of the series when Obi-Wan's making the bread like Rey does, and it like turns from liquid to bread and stuff or whatever. I don't know. It made me see all the connections between Star Wars. Like, it wasn't just the originals and the prequels for me, but it was the sequels too. I thought that this show has done such a great job of really connecting all of it and making it feel like a shared universe.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I actually wanted to talk about that at one point, but as hard as I like want to nitpick at this show, like I think about like Kenobi's arc, right? Did we really get like a great arc? Because they made some improvements? Yeah, but we also, you see a clear definition of like him at the beginning and him at the end. And you kind of, the only thing I would have loved to see more is just him like do some kind of like force training. I thought that would have been amazing. But I think that's just more like my personal like want as opposed to like what the story actually needed. You know, I think it's probably just fine the way it was.
Yeah, I look. There are a couple episodes where the writing, to me, even is a little bit of a challenge to
McClunky.
connect. Yeah. Oh, McClunky. Right. So there's a little bit of the writing in there that I have some challenges with defending. Now, I can roll with it and be like, okay, that was Star Wars. Let's just keep going. But if I had to defend it, it would be really, really tough.
Hopefully
Click the
we
wrong
get
button.
feedback.
Somebody
No,
clicked the wrong button.
I didn't do it. It's such a sheet. It wasn't me.
Weird. You guys can hear me, yeah?
Yeah, we can, and we're seeing you sideways.
Yeah, my camera's all weird now.
That brings me to my next point. I actually wanted to. I was telling Sheev a little bit about this before Santa jumped in. Just like awesome having Santa here, and then also it just kind of makes me bring everything into perspective. Like probably all three of us, how far we've come in the streaming business in like about a year's time. And in the process of making that intro, I was searching for Sheev actually saying hyped. Oh yeah, he's ready for it.
Oh no.
Oh no.
And this is the one I ended up going with ultimately.
It's let's go! Bad Batch hype!
And
Oh no.
Oh no. I'm worried now. Okay.
It took me a little while to find that. So what we're gonna do next is this is like about a 57-second just masterpiece of like it'll show you exactly how far. Probably not as much Sheev, but definitely like me, how far we've come since I first started like messing around and streaming. This is just for some context here. I tried to like shorten this because it would have been way too long. But we were covering What If for the Marvel series, and I came off of a week of like just terrible predictions in the video, like including that. And this is where we ended up. This is about a minute long, so I hope I don't just kick everybody out of stream with this.
Strike two, shall we, Sheev?
Oh yes.
We randomly get a still of what almost looks like the back of Captain America's head at one point, with a shield on his back as he's entering a room reminiscent of the Citadel, where He Who Remains, Kang, whatever you want to call him, was found at the end of Loki. There's a tree at the center of this room with light shining on it. Could this represent the World Tree?
Oh no. You good, bro?
Seemed like the right thing at the time, and I'm sorry, everybody. I'm looking you in the eye. I'm telling you, the bottom of my heart. I don't know what the fuck I was talking about.
But anyway, and I was the best part about it was I was going back and looking at those, and I had the live comments up too, so I just seeing everybody rolling. That was great. It was a great moment. I think some people in the chat remember this too.
Clearly, technical difficulties happen because I'm going through it right now.
Yeah, it just never got better. No, no, look at the video quality of that compared to just using. Oh man, it's wild to me how I thought that was a good idea to go on, like looking like that.
Sometimes you just gotta jump into the fire, man.
Well, and I think that's the advice I've heard over and over again. Like, don't let that be a deterrent to starting. Like, start. And it could be terrible. One of my favorite things is I went back to Thor Skywalker's very first videos. Oh my goodness! Like he has grown as a content creator. Let me tell you. And I know the same's true for me. But when you see some of those first videos, you're like, oh, then you see just how far you come in such a short, amount of time.
Yeah, we were getting a little out of hand there for a minute. We had to take a break.
It's only like 2. What are you talking about?
I put a thumbnail up with us just drinking in the thumbnail, man. We're turning into YouTube alcoholics.
Oh,
Sheev had to call me out on it, I think. Anyway, let's get back on track here. So Roken was pretty cool, huh? I hope he comes around again.
well, Roken, like I never really caught on to Roken all that much. He's fine, and I'm sure they're going to. Well, this is a question I have. Like, there are several characters introduced in this series that we could absolutely see more content with, right? Haj, is that his name? Haj,
something like that.
Oh my goodness, I would love to see more of him, right? And certainly Reva, her story. Where does she go from here? Does she just disappear into nothing? Does she actually have a cause? Well, what happens to her? And whether that's in a series or a comic or something, that's fine. But Roken as well. Like he could be another hero that we get to follow, a main protagonist of a story. Whether that's in a series or not, I have no idea. But they've got some compelling characters that were introduced for sure.
Yeah. I don't even need them to show up like in their own show, but just like
right.
Reva, first off, I think once she's outside the box of what this show had to be, maybe she can get a little bit better story and writing, or even just supporting cast, whatever they do with her. Roken, definitely, like, how amazing would that be if he just pops up as a pilot, like in the Ahsoka show? Like, he survived it, because it's not that far off. It's like 10, 15 or so later, right?
Yeah, 15, 16, maybe 17-ish years. So
yeah,
a little bit of time definitely has passed, but
well, I mean, he could have showed up. Like, we heard a ton of people showed up at the end of Rise of Skywalker, right?
It's true.
So he could absolutely have been part of that, and he could show up in the post Rise of Skywalker stories.
Yeah, honestly, I didn't think he would survive the show, similar to what we got with Tala. And she was probably my favorite of the new characters. I liked Reva a lot too, and I think there is more story to tell with Reva for sure. But I definitely didn't see Roken surviving, and it makes me question if we're gonna see him in maybe a season 2, or if there is a Reva spinoff, maybe she ends up helping with the path and kind of helping out Roken a little bit.
Imagine like a Roken and Saw, like Odd Couple show or something like that.
No, it is interesting. Like, Saul was not included in here. We do have the next show's coming right in August, right? And
yeah.
we could see him as part of that show. Might we see any characters from Kenobi in Andor?
Okay.
They're close enough.
That's a good question.
But but they're really close in delivery. Like, you know, Kenobi just finished, and then Andor's coming right out. But these characters like Roken could possibly be around, and would we see them? I don't know.
No, that's a good question, though. I've been wondering. I've been wondering if we could see some characters cross over, or like how we're going to see them in the future, whether we do get a season 2 or whatnot. And I think you're right, Sam. I mean, Andor definitely is a great opportunity to bring those characters back, whether it is a Roken, because Roken would definitely make a lot of sense in the context of Saw and the rebellion and everything early on at that point. Roken and Wade. Do it.
Tala, I agree with Ducky here too. Tala was probably, I think, one of the strongest like acting jobs in the show. Like right up there. Ewan was doing his thing, but he had the script to like back him up. You know, he had probably the easiest job, but he has the best chops. But Tala, like, she came out of nowhere, surprised me. She did really well.
Some of the problems that the series suffered from, and that any prequel kind of series would follow, is the outcome.
Yeah.
So knowing the outcome, going back for Tala and like getting her story coming up through to become an Imperial officer. Well, I mean, we know where she's going to end up. So any kind of tension you try to build up, like, oh, is she going to get discovered? Oh, is her identity going to get, or anything like that? You kind of know where it's going to go. So unfortunately, it's kind of tough to go back and tell that story.
Yeah, and to your point though, they are doing the Andor show, which is kind of similar. Which, like, we all know where he's going to end up at the end of that. But at the same time, I think sometimes we do get characters where, like Riva or Roken, where we thought that maybe they wouldn't make it out of the series either, and now there could be a potential spinoff from them and the new characters that were brought into the show. So oftentimes you're right, Santa, that it's hard to do spin-offs for characters that died, but for new characters that are coming in for the prequel stuff, and Rebels is a great example of that. There's a lot of people didn't expect the Rebels characters to make it out of the show alive, and of course now we know that the majority of them did, and we kind of have a reason for them not being in the original trilogy in a way that they kind of fit in the story still.
If I said it once, I said it 1,000 times. Like, Ahsoka has been the main show I'm excited about since it's been like a year now, right? I was saying that right since they introduced all these. Anyway, moving on.
Yeah. No, that's a good point though, because Ahsoka, we don't know for sure her outcome. We don't for sure know any of those characters, right? Like,
Yeah.
Some of them we know were in the Rise of Skywalker at the end. So we know some of them survive, but we don't know the outcome of all of them. We don't know for sure if Ahsoka's alive or not at the end of Rise of Skywalker. So maybe not.
Or even Grogu.
Well, sure. But any of the characters that would appear in Ahsoka it's a compelling story. And where has Ezra been all this time? What is the new future for Thrawn? Like, you go back to the original Heir to the Empire, you know how he dies, but is that how he dies now? Like, what's going to happen? So those are compelling stories. And of course, The Mandalorian. Like, that's a whole new cast for the most part. And where that story goes could be anything.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
definitely.
I do think they missed a golden opportunity by killing Tala, though.
Oh, yeah.
Because we could have got a Roken and Tala story that carried us through, like, this. It's not prequel time. I don't know what you call it in between the prequels and the in
The Age of the Empire.
right? Like,
That's kind of what it is. But yeah, dude, I agree, man. And I'm excited for, like, this whole time period is so fun to me. And that's why I'm really excited for the Andor show, because I feel like that's a show that can, give us some Thrawn during the Empire potentially, or just, some of the cool little things that we didn't know were going on during that time period. And it is such a fun time period to explore. You know what I mean?
honestly, I think like this time period feels most like the original trilogy than anything, because it's doing the same stuff. You're just getting different characters doing it. And I think that's why I liked like Rebels so much more when it came out, because I was more casual leaning. Like I saw the prequels when they came out, but I was one of those guys that like the second episode at the end, I was like, oh my God, that's what's going on right now. Like that's Palpatine. What? I'm like, I knew those ships looked from. I was in high school doing a lot of other stuff, but but yeah. Andor should be insane. I'm kind of nervous about having to do content with Andor and She-Hulk going on at the same exact time. Kind of like this.
Is that what's going on? Because I know Miss Marvel and everything, and Miss Marvel has taken quite the hit, it seems like, with Obi-Wan kind of coming out alongside it. In fact, I forgot there was an episode 3.
It's getting really good though.
I liked episode 2 better than episode 1. I know that some people the other way around. Of course, I haven't seen 3 yet, but I wonder, and this is sort of came up coming out of Kenobi. Of course, the fandom's kind of split on this. In my perception, more people like Kenobi as a whole than disliked it, but there's a significant number of people who disliked it. I'll just like it's more than just a minute number. So, will that dampen the potential of Andor coming out of the gate? Right? How much enthusiasm, Star Wars enthusiasm, has been lost by some of the people? Let's take our friend X-Wing for example, right? Who's just like he's in a tough spot. My heart breaks for the guy. I love him. He's a great friend, but at the same time, he's having a hard time. He's struggling. How much enthusiasm will he have to go into Andor, or other folks like him, the folks at Echo Base or anywhere else, or even Josh Lucas at the Den, right? How much enthusiasm will they have going into Andor to really hype the show and come out of the gate hot?
So I'll step in here real quick, and I'll say I've been talking about this kind of with Meg, and probably halfway through the show, I was starting to kind of wonder this myself. Like, are we going to have a Last Jedi situation on our hands, if you will? Like, if for those of us that know, of course, the Solo movie absolutely, I guess you could say, failed in terms of making money at the box office after The Last Jedi had come out. And, you know, regardless of how you feel about The Last Jedi, there's obviously controversy that came out of that movie. And I was kind of wondering, like, what if, because of the controversy we had a bit through Obi-Wan, if it's going to end up affecting the Andor show and kind of the stuff coming out, to your point, Santa. And I think with us having a pretty good finale, like, it seemed like the majority of fans, like, obviously there's still a large minority or, you know, a loud minority, or, you know, there's still a large chunk of fans that didn't love the show or the finale even. So there definitely could be some fans that aren't really on board with Andor or checking it out right away. But I think as the show goes, the fact that it's 12 episodes, people are going to hop on at some point. And I think Andor is going to surprise a lot of people.
I agree. And I think I raised the question because I think it's a good discussion. But my own personal opinion of it is a lot of the folks who are really vocal on YouTube, let's say, you know, social media, regarding Star Wars or I mean, Kenobi, Book of Boba Fett, whatever. They have an investment in Star Wars that will bring them into Andor one way or the other, right? They're going to have to watch it because that's what their content's built on. Our friend X-Wing, for example, right? He'll be in there watching it, right? He almost has to. If his channel is going to continue, if he's going to continue his brand, if he's going to continue with covering Star Wars, you have to. Unless you're going to do like Drunk 3PO and just say, nope, I'm out. Right? There's very few people who do that and who actually follow through with it. I think Drunk 3PO is the only one that I can think of that actually followed through. I said, I'm not watching it. You'll have to tell me what happened because I'm just not going to watch it. Everybody else is watching it and covering it and then complaining about it. So, you know, so how much will the naysayers coming out of Kenobi fall off before Andor? I don't think hardly any. maybe none. And so on the other side of it, again, I've seen a tremendous reception for Kenobi all over Twitter today. It's been hot. Like people, I think the positive comments far outweigh the negatives. At least in my feed. I don't know. You guys can say what have you seen?
Green Bear, if you want to step in, go for it. But from what I've seen, I'd say probably 80% of the fandom really enjoyed this finale, just from my personal perspective. But I know that, you know, your opinion or your perspective may vary on that. But even from some like polls I've seen of people, you know, some bigger YouTubers asking people if they enjoyed the episode, it seemed like about 75-80% of the fandom really enjoyed this finale.
Yeah, I mean the middle parts of this series got a little rough at times. I can definitely see why for some people, but those last 2 episodes like gave nobody much to complain about. That they were phenomenal. You know, I think that really probably saved the series because like we got to like episode like 4 and people are like, you know,
Yeah.
So I honestly think I think the other thing is too with Star Wars and the fandom in general, we're always looking for that golden goose that's just going to bring everybody together. And like, I'm sorry guys, but it's not going to happen. You're always going to have pissed off.
It's like
Star
the
Wars.
Mando, and that's kind of it.
It is.
Yeah.
It's because it's all new characters, you know, and you don't have the legacy. Well, I mean, they did bring in Luke Skywalker in the end of season 2 and into Book of Boba Fett there. And then we are getting some characters in Mando season 3 that are going to carry over as well, Bo-Katan and that kind of thing. So, but in large part, nobody knows Din Djarin's story.
No.
Right.
So they're not going to say, well, he wouldn't say that. Oh, he can't say that because this. He can do whatever, right? He's not beholden to some other piece of canon that he's going to run into for his story. They got to kind of be careful as it overlaps into other stories, but for his story itself,
that's pretty much where Ahsoka's sitting too right now.
Yeah,
for the large part, her and her supporting Rebels cast. Oh my god, I'm so excited.
Yes. It is similar. The thing about Rebels, and I think it'll do really well because a lot of the fans, not Rebels, sorry, Ahsoka. A lot of the fans of Ahsoka are fans of Rebels or the Clone Wars, as that's really where she's been prominent. So those of us that are excited for that, I think, you know, I don't think an Ahsoka show has quite the same level of, I guess you could say, like, weight on the fandom, like an Obi-Wan show that's dealing with characters from the prequels and bringing those back after, you know, controversy for years after The Last Jedi and even back in the prequels originally. For some fans, they were saying this is do or die for the Kenobi show, you know, and that was never really it for me. Like, I was just like, I love this era. Like, the prequel characters are literally part of the reason I love Star Wars. I'm super excited to get Ewan back. And I'm excited to get a good story out of it. And I think they definitely delivered on that aspect. But for an Ahsoka show, I don't think anybody's, you know, Star Wars lives or dies by this. You know what I mean? And the fact that it's Dave Filoni kind of running it, I'm pretty sure the fandom is kind of more excited than anything for it.
I mean, we got some big things coming up out of Star Wars Celebration. Sheev knows. I don't know if he knows. I don't think he actually caught any in the trailers. He was all getting autographs. But
I've seen everything. I've seen all the stuff I missed. I caught up. But you're right, man. I mean, there is a lot coming the back half of the year still. And while our next live action after Andor won't be probably till the beginning of 2024, we have some incredible animated series on the way.
You mean 3? 2023. You said 2024.
Oh my goodness!
You skipped a year.
I'm losing. 2020 is still affecting me, man.
No, yeah, right. Mando 3 is going to come beginning of 2023. Andor that is 12 episodes. I mean, it's running from the end of August. 12 episodes. That's a long run. Bad Batch is in there somewhere, and we also have the Lego Summer Special, which I am. Like, you guys see that trailer?
Did it? I thought it was dropping this week. Did it not?
It comes out August.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. Like August 12th or something like that.
All right.
Yeah, I think that's coming out August 12th, and I think She-Hulk is like August 20th. It's like,
Okay. Did you see the trailer? Do you guys see that Legos
I
holiday?
did. I like the little Palpatine scene telling him, "Get my shoulders."
you know what's funny too is this whole time leading up to this finale, we're all like, we're not getting Palpatine. We got him.
Oh yeah.
Nobody's talking about it. Like,
No, it's almost
not
an afterthought
trending.
compared to
Yeah.
the fight and everything. Even Qui-Gon, I see a lot more people talking about Qui-Gon. Heck, me, Sheev, I'm not even really talking about it that much. I thought about it at one point during our conversation, and yeah, what do you guys think of Palpatine popping into it?
I loved it. First of all, our friend Jason Ward was wrong, and he said from the get go, he's like, "Look, I would love to be wrong about it, but I don't think he's in it. I don't think it worked out." And when I got to see him, that surprise was fantastic. Having known so much of the show from Jason, I knew each episode what was going to happen. We knew who was going to be there, what the story was. And then when all of a sudden Palps is there, my excitement was through the roof. It was just like, wow, that's cool. And Jason's wrong. That's going to be a lot of fun to haze him about. And and at the same time, I thought it was great delivery. It belonged in there. And,
It did.
It was great.
I think his addition, as small as it was, similar to Qui-Gon's, it actually adds a bit of impact to the canon, and the fact that he kind of tells him like, you need to chill on your obsession with Kenobi a little bit,
Well, an interesting part about that, Sheev, and sorry, I'm kind of taking over
Go
here,
for it.
but the in the comics and in the books, Sheev is constantly poking Anakin. Right. Anytime Anakin starts to come out, Sheev's there, poking a hole and putting him back. Yeah. So he would have these feelings about Padme, for example, and you see it in several novels. And he starts reminiscing about her and feeling nostalgic for her.
Yeah.
And then Sheev can sense it and immediately starts calling him on it. I think you're thinking about somebody. Yeah, I'm not thinking about nobody. Yeah, you are. No, I'm not.
He always tells him, he would say, those are the thoughts of the Jedi, and Vader would be like, you're right, I'm a different person now.
I totally wasn't thinking about my Padme,
My dead wife.
What 100% was not thinking about her. And it's like he catches him every time. So I thought that was good here too, because it fits in exactly with what we have in the expanded universe, or in the novels in this era, that he catches him. Sheev catches him. You're thinking too much about Obi-Wan. No, you're the man. He's like, mm-hmm.
Can we talk about Obi-Wan's problem finishing?
Right? Right.
He doesn't. It's like Reva said in episode 5. Do you really want to see Anakin dead? And the face on Ewan kind of said it all to me. Like, he probably doesn't. Like that. I think there's part of Obi-Wan, even though he even says to him, that my friend is really gone. Like, I think there is part of him that thinks that he can be redeemed. Like, knowing the Anakin that he knew during the 10 years that he trained him. It seems like there's still like hope that Obi-Wan has that maybe Anakin is still in there. And, we get in Return of the Jedi, like Obi-Wan once thought as you did to Luke when Luke is trying to bring the Anakin out. And, it would be that much more impactful if Obi-Wan did kind of feel deep down that there is redemption to be had here.
That was what I was thinking about too. Is like, did that scene, like as powerful as that was, just seeing him half-mast and like his like, I killed Anakin, he's not there anymore, whatever, paraphrasing, but like, was that enough to like make us lean on that canon in the original trilogy? Like, did that seem like Obi-Wan was portraying like, I believe Anakin's there? That's the only kind of, I had a little bit of disconnect there. It's like, he's not really trying to get his friend back here. He's not really thinking he's redeemable. It's just like, Anakin? Oh, okay, you're not home. Bye. Like, you know.
The scene for me was just so emotional, and like the performance by Ewan in particular. Like I talk about it with Meg in her Patreon video. She's probably gonna be releasing soon. But first of all, like, Hayden's performance in that scene, kind of the cynical like darkness of Vader when he's like, I killed Anakin. Like it almost had like a Joker kind of feel to it, the way he was like smiling even.
That side of it was awesome. I just feel like Ewan's side was lacking a little bit. Like,
oh my god, I don't at all. I feel I was right there with you, and the tears and you know, the emotional kind of movement of that scene. It just I could feel every ounce of the pain that Obi-Wan felt, and you know, trying to make one last plea, like, you know, telling him like, I'm sorry I failed you, like, you know, I didn't mean for this to kind of be what happened. And he's like, you don't need to be sorry, I did it myself.
So somebody earlier when I was on Jason's stream said that they thought that he was letting Obi-Wan off the hook. Like, no, you're not responsible for this, as if letting him off the hook. Like, you don't have to feel guilty about this. I don't think that was what his intent was. It is a result, but his intent was to take credit for it, not let it. Right.
No, I 100% agree with you. Not to cut you off, but
Yeah.
I kind of get from almost a certain point of view, like it backfires on him, because he's trying to like make it seem like, you know, I did it, like, yeah, and like, but at the same time, it gives kind of the closure that Obi-Wan needs to kind of move on from it and realize it wasn't his fault that Anakin fell. Like, Anakin chose the path that he did.
do you feel like do you feel like he's always had like just the split personality of Vader? Like, do you feel like that's always been that strong though, or it's just been kind of more brought to light in like recent portrayals of him? Like, you think it was always meant to be like a not the same person?
That's a really good question. No, and that's what I thought this episode did a really good job of helping fix, because in the original New Hope, there was two different people, a pupil named Darth Vader, and another Jedi named Anakin Skywalker. And there were two different people. In A New Hope, that's the context. There were two different people. And so after the retcon comes in Empire Strikes Back, then headcanon and other things have kind of helped support an argument that say, well, they're the same person, but two distinct identities. Anakin and Vader are two separate identities within that character. So what this did is kind of helped give some context to that, and showed that I think it actually shows they're the same person, not two identities, and that Obi-Wan is kind of trolling him when he says, all right, fine, Darth. Right. That's to go back and fix the problem in A New Hope when he's calling him Darth. Because the problem in A New Hope is that was the dude's name. It wasn't his title. And so here, Obi-Wan is trolling him at this point, saying, fine, Darth, right? I'm not calling you Anakin anymore. You killed him. And so I thought it was great. I really did think it was great.
It is, like, honestly, like, just the biggest tragedy of a villain, like, ever. That's why it's so compelling. That's why we really watch Star Wars. It's Vader. I don't know if you guys are aware, but like, and then when we're all mad that we can't replicate that story and it doesn't have the same luster, it's like, that's why, because that's the standard, you know? Like, I don't know. My opinion.
I think Santa would beg to differ. I think it's Rey that he watches for.
Well, that's true.
I almost feel bad because we could definitely get raunchier than Star Wars Megan here, but we're holding back. We're being so nice to him.
Yeah, hopefully Meg is asleep. That's my
to be honest, it's late for her.
Would have been great to have her in the chat, though. She's like, she's a force in the chat.
She is. She is. To touch
Oh.
on your point, though, I feel like for a long time, even in like psychology classes, people have kind of done studies on if Vader and Anakin are the same person. And there's definitely aspects of them that are different, but I agree with you, Sin. I think especially episodes 5 and now in episode 6 too, like the fact that we get those prequel flashbacks and Obi-Wan kind of seeing the weaknesses that Vader has and, you know, being the same weaknesses that Anakin has, I think it definitely shows how similar, especially Attack of the Clones Anakin is to Vader, and how much like that is the same character. We see Vader, you know, so hell-bent on winning that it kind of blinds him a lot in this series from other stuff in a way that kind of is the same thing as Anakin. Like he's so set on winning and having the life that he wants with not only Padme but being in the Jedi Order still, that it kind of makes him afraid to leave the Jedi Order, but at the same time all he wants to do is have a life with Padme.
Yeah. You said it.
I mean,
Absolutely.
I'm just my bad.
I don't know if that was a question.
No, sometimes I go on a rant and just I gotta just get it out, man. The Star Wars love.
Is what it is. Two I don't know how long we can keep Santa awake here. So two bigger thoughts I had was first, would this have been way better off as a movie?
That's a good question. So, and I talked to Jason about this earlier, and there's really two sides to it. One is yes. I'm going to say yes and no, right? So, yes, in that I saw somebody posted just the content itself was like 3 hours and 40 seconds, or 3 hours and 40 minutes long, 3 hours 50 minutes. So we're pushing up on 4 hours of actual just episode content.
Right.
If they released this as a movie, they would trim that down. So you would cut at least an hour and a half to 2 hours out of that content, and it would tighten the story up and make it a far more condensed movie, right? So it would have to be. With that, the pacing might seem stronger. The storyline itself might seem stronger, and we wouldn't have so much time with some characters that people don't care as much about. Right? Everybody came, well, at least the people that are making the most noise came to Kenobi wanting to see Obi-Wan and Anakin Vader. That's what they wanted. And if you cut it down to, say, under 3 hours, the percentage of that would be greater in that. So that would make it better. On the other side, what always happens with those kind of things is characters get introduced, or their stories kind of get glossed over, and people complain like, I don't even know what's going on, or why is this person doing this? I have no idea what they're doing, because you didn't get that time to kind of explore it. So going to long form storytelling allows you to explore a lot more of that as it paces along. But I don't know that the Kenobi's arc would stand up as well. Like when you look at his entire arc through this series, it would suffer from being made a movie.
I gotta admit, I did not think about that. The time differences.
I think, yeah.
Selfishly, as a content creator, I love shows way more than movies because it gives us much more to talk about for longer. So,
yeah, no, that's the thing about shows versus movies, is that you can add more context. And in a way, I feel like this is like a one big 4 hour movie. It just, you know, we had to wait a week to get parts of the story. So I don't know. If they did make it a movie, to Santa's point, I think they would have had to make it longer, like a 3-4 hour movie, just to get all the context and make it hit the same in terms of, you know, the story beats and kind of Kenobi's arc. Because I don't think they would have been able to do it in a 2 hour movie, you know, 2.5 hour movie. It wouldn't have probably worked. That being said, though, I think if they wanted to do a second season of Kenobi and they didn't have enough episodes or stories to tell, a 2.5 hour movie would be a great way to do a Kenobi part 2.
What we got here, Santa?
What?
I'm just filling in some holes for some folks. That's all. So I
How long
pulled
is this? Is this less
It's
than...
like 10 seconds.
I'm not monetized. I don't care if I get copyright.
It's something like that. No, it's short. It's short. You won't be hit.
I mean, either way, I'm good.
I was so confused. I was like, what are you talking about?
No, this is where so I pulled the clip where Leia knows Ben Kenobi from A New Hope. So that's
Here we go.
Yeah.
Oh, hold on. I'm not making this mistake again. Hold on, we gotta do this over. When I went to do my freaking trailer stream, I forgot to add the audio. I'm not.
Oh,
not
yeah,
doing
yeah.
That again.
Yeah.
There we go. Yeah, I would have done it definitely. All right. All right. Here we go.
A little short for a stormtrooper.
Huh? Oh, the uniform.
I'm Luke Skywalker. I'm here to rescue you.
You're who?
I'm here to rescue you. I've got your R2 unit. I'm here with Ben Kenobi.
Ben Kenobi, where is he?
Come on.
There you go.
Yep.
She knows who Ben Kenobi is.
Yeah.
Clearly.
Look, it's something you don't remember. What you remember from that scene is, aren't you short for a stormtrooper? I'm Luke Skywalker. I'm here to save you. You're who? That's what you remember. You don't remember the rest of it.
Pretty much. I mean, even in the, I thought it was funny too, just thinking back to, Obi-Wan Kenobi, you're my only hope. Nowhere in there does it seem to me like it's the first time she's met him. Like, I get the impression that people maybe think that, but at the same time, like, it's never stated. Like, I don't know who that is.
No, it's you served with my
Father during the
dad
Clone
back
Wars.
in the Clone Wars, and you helped him. Now we need your help. She doesn't say like, "Hey, buddy, you remember that time? Do you still have Lola?" Like, no, because I mean she got him back. But anyway,
To me,
Yeah,
that
I
whole
think
hologram thing. My bad, but
No, you
the whole hologram thing to me adds even more impact to the fact that Obi-Wan's trying to help them in A New Hope. Because, I mean, to me, it was a surprise seeing Obi-Wan going back to Alderaan, and he tells them, "If you guys ever need my help, hit me up," kind of a thing. And it made me wonder if maybe we'll get them needing his help in season 2. But I also have the thought, like, that's probably their call for help. The next time that they need it from him is in A New Hope, and he's sadly not able to reach it in time because Alderaan ends up blowing up.
the other aspect of that is, Ben Obi-Wan tells her in the end of this episode, "Hey, this is our secret. Nobody can know. It could be dangerous, right?" And so you're sending out a message into space saying, "Hey, we need your help." She's trying to give as little information as possible to anybody who might intercept that message. And we know somebody was trying to intercept that message. Had they intercepted it, it wouldn't have been the tie back to her. It would have been tie back to Bail Organa back in the Clone Wars, and not reveal all the stuff in between. So,
He's like, "Hey, listen, I let your dad have a private line before. He sold the store and the message. From now on, you want to contact me, you send in a drone, airmail style. Got it?"
that's exactly it.
Hand deliver it.
That's exactly it. Don't pull a Bail Organa. I mean, it's a verb now. Don't do that.
Well, the funny part is it's not even Bill's fault. It's really Hodges for dropping it on the floor.
But even with that, it's like, come on, Bill. You're like basically the leader of the Rebel Alliance as it is right now. You're working with Fulcrum. You understand the importance of secrecy. Open line. You're just like, "Hey, I'm going to Tatooine for that secret kid you have hidden."
If my daughter's dead, I gotta go protect the boy.
Exactly. Darth Maximus nailed it. Yeah. Leia definitely knows how to send a low-key message way better than Bail.
The
Right? Like,
kicker is too. I was actually expecting the end of this after whatever happened with Reva, I almost put it in your predictions. I was gonna be like, Bail Organa sets foot on Tatooine, says, "You know what, Obi-Kenobi? Obi-Kenobi. You know what, Kenobi? You probably deserve some better living area. Maybe I'll build a hut for you. It's pretty cheap on Tatooine." But no, he doesn't even do that. He didn't pay her. And did you see Kenobi leave with any gold? Anything? Nothing. Like, he just saved his kid. Impossible odds, by the way.
Somebody could at least give him a cot, you know?
Right?
Like, don't have to sleep
Maybe
on the
that's
floor.
what
anymore.
happened. He was leaving at the end, and him and Qui-Gon are upgrading now.
Obi-Wan's like, "Hey, Leia, you know what? If you need to contact me, you do so. Bail, don't ever talk to me again. You're done. You're dead, baby. You're dead, man. I hope you and your whole planet goes away."
Yeah, because he really did give away the store in that message, right? Like, you need to. He gives away three really key important points, right? Tatooine. He gives away Owen Lars
Yeah.
and the boy. It's like Bail. Obi-Wan knows all that, right? Like, you could have just said, "Hey, there's concerns about the thing that you've been watching."
The kicker will be like finding out he goes by Fulcrum in this next show coming out. And,
Hey, Ducky's got to go to bed. He's got to put the girls to bed.
you're probably done soon too.
It is. It is like it's getting close to Santa's bedtime.
Right. The only other two thoughts I had was like, you know, when it came down to like let's man up time, Aunt Beru was the only one ready to go. So respect to her.
She kept that thing packing.
And then I guess we'll leave it at like, how awesome is it just the way they ended this series, like open ended. Like anything could happen from here. We could get another series or season. We could not. It doesn't matter. Like I thought that was brilliant in itself. You know.
I agree, and I think it's absolutely brilliant. And the one complaint, and I was able to talk about this with Jason earlier. My friend Rev Kev had, and he's another old fart like me, is that why do you need? Why is Luke Skywalker like your last hope, right, in the galaxy, when Obi-Wan Kenobi is godlike Jedi coming out of this episode? Right? Like, he's holding up his hands and throwing boulders, right? Like, he is straight up like the man. And so Vader couldn't beat him. So why wouldn't he keep pursuing him? As you said earlier, why didn't he finish him? Why didn't he finish him? He doesn't want to kill him, but at the same time, Obi-Wan would think could be what's the guy's name? It just popped in my head. I should have thought about it earlier. Keanu Reeves' character that goes and like kills
John Wick.
John Wick. Yeah.
Yeah, looks like him too in this.
Yeah. Kenobi's John Wick of Star Wars, man. Just like send him out and take out everybody.
All right. Well, it's almost 9. I kept Santa up way longer than any human that watches YouTube has ever seen him before.
This is
so pat on my own back to that. You see Vader's Lair over here, Sheev the Wise. I seriously doubt anybody in here isn't already subscribed to you guys, but if you're not, go into the description. Links are already there for Sheev, or aka Vader's Lair, and Star Wars Santa. We're gonna leave you on one final note here. Obi-Wan Kenobi, fuck your feelings. You had the guy dead twice. All right. And you know what? That's all I got. Say goodbye, guys.
Peace out, everybody.